Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order, 7 o'clock. Having said that, I'll turn the chair over to Deputy Mayor Kroll.
Thank you, Mayor Daniels. I'd like to acknowledge Mayor and Council, acknowledging the town of Fort Smith is located within Treaty 8 territory. Treaty 8 territory also encompasses the traditional homelands of the Salt River First Nation, Smith Landing First Nation, and the Indigenous Métis people of Fort Smith. These nations have maintained stewardship of their sacred lands throughout the generations. We honor your knowledge, teachings, traditions, and the land. We are mindful that colonization has not been kind. We respectfully recognize our generational histories and commit to strive for unity in the spirit of truth and reconciliation. With that, I will ask for a statement of disclosure of financial interest from anybody. None seen. We have on the list a delegation, but they do not appear to be here at this time. So I'm going to ask for a motion for the agenda to be adopted as presented.
I move the agenda be adopted as presented.
Councillor Couvret, seconder.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Kissinger. Any questions, comments, additions? Councillor Tuckey?
I'd like to put an addition under, I guess it would be other business. No, maybe not. Yes. About the swimming pool hours.
Is there agreement from the motion and seconder? Mike? Okay, all in favor? Motion carried. We'll next review the minutes from the Community Services Standing Committee from April 9th to review, and they were adopted at the regular meeting of council on April 16th. Is there any questions or comments from those minutes? Councillor Couvret.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of items in regards to the minutes from the April 9th Community Services under other business. We were talking about, it was brought up by one of the councillors, a survey of pool operations in Fort Smith versus other communities. And I was a bit concerned that the survey it looked at just one very narrow aspect of the operation. And I think I would like to see in future where we're being I'll use the word critical of staff operations or our own operations, that we do if we're going to do a survey of other things, we have to look at all aspects of an operation. Just doing a survey of hours of operation, not looking at what resources other communities may have to provide a level of service, is really leaving half the question or half the position left in question. So just to comment on that. As part of the thing, we've also been talking, and there's a thing in the further on in the agenda about adjusting our services and the resources that we use for these services. And I know I had mentioned that I would not bring it up over the next little while, but if we're continuing to juggle our resources and our services and things, every time there's a whim or somebody goes, oh, don't like that, don't want it, need more of this or that, it's really being very reactive. And I think we need to be proactive when we manage a community and our resources. And I think with that in mind, we really have to consider activating a process to do we were calling it a functional review. I have since revised it to call it a municipal core services review. And I think that really needs to be done before we do a lot more juggling of resources, services, and things. Establish a baseline of what the public wants for basic services, what they would like, the nice to haves and things like that, and then look at what we can deliver with the resources that we have, financial resources, our human resources and everything, and make some fundamental decisions based on a good background knowledge of what we're capable of, what we can afford to do, and what the people really want. And I think that can all be achieved doing a municipal core services review. It's going to cost us probably $75,000 to $100,000 possibly, but I think it's a well invested money. We haven't done it in a long time, and I think it's before we go too far down the road and pass the gauntlet on to, or the baton on to the next council, they should have that information available for them as well.
Thank you for that. Are you making a motion or you're just, no? Okay. Awesome. Any other comments about the minutes? No. Moving on, vision and values are reviewed, as well as the community services master plan and the economic development plan. Moving on to the director's report from community services. SAO, are you deferring to Mrs. Colucci? Okay, go ahead.
Oh, so you'll see it's in a bit of a different format, so a bit more comprehensive as we work on getting towards standardizing how all of these reports will look. So I guess if there's any questions out of the reports.
It's refreshing to see that we have funding for Canada Day. Thank you. Ms. Colucci?
So then everybody knows it's all, we're on top of it. We've started our Canada Day planning and we're having our kind of initial meetings and stuff like that. So we know that it'll be upon us in no time. So we're getting ready for that. And I'll be sending out requests for anyone who wants to come help us with food prep and be there on the day of the event. So stay tuned. I'll be asking you all soon.
Any questions for Director of Community Services? Mayor Daniels.
Yeah, I know you're just talking about Canada Day's stuff there, but we also have Aboriginal Day. I'm not sure who's going to sit there in our part to help plan it out, and unless you have someone you could lend us, like someone upstairs.
Indigenous Peoples Day, Ms. Colucci?
So I think we've started kind of taking part in that, and I think we'll work through, you maybe put the request through our SAO, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Any other questions? It was an easy one. Awesome. Okay, update on Community Services Advisory Boards. The minutes from the April 26th meeting were reviewed. Is there any questions, comments? Okay, moving on to the Economic Development Advisory Board. There's a new appointment with, need a motion brought forward for this, please, for Diane Seals. Councillor Couvret.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that Diane Seals be appointed to the Economic Development Advisory Board for a 2-year term ending December 31st, 2025.
Seconder,
I'll second.
any comments, questions, concerns? All in favor? Motion carried unanimously. Nothing under bylaw, policy, review and development. Next, administration briefing note on organizational chart changes.
I'm going to let Emily speak to this one.
So I know that it's on all of our minds and has been brought up time and time again. And it's not, it's a good thing that it's being brought up because it is an issue that we're continuing to see. So this is something I think I'd brought it. I remember speaking to it, I think, in one of the November meetings that if we really wanted our pool to run well, I need someone who actually supervises that as a facility, a separate facility. Looking at comparisons from schedules from other facilities that have more access. Hay River is a great example. Hay River has 3 full-time staff in their pool. They have an aquatic coordinator in their pool, along with full-time lifeguards, as well as a recreation coordinator. So I think in the past, when these changes were made to take a coordinator out of the pool, so the aquatic lead position that used to be in the pool, that was there to supervise that facility. So we saw a lot of programming come out, more swimming lessons, more kind of fun things going on in the community because there was a person there who was supervising that facility and those staff. The decision to take that position and combine it with another position from the recreation side at the time, I think it was thought that that might be a good thing. Having more frontline staff, having that ability in different areas, and then having one person supervise everything. And I think we've tried to play that out enough that it doesn't really work, taking those 2 jobs and trying to combine them into one and say that a single person can do all the programming for a pool facility, a recreational facility, an arena, on top of our fitness center and all these sort of things. It's too much in one position. So going through this as a proposal to have our pool actually have a program coordinator that would be supervising it as a program area. So to test that out a little bit, moving towards trying to shift our focus to that facility specifically, and dedicating more time there, we were able to at least move into a 5-day. We're open 5 days at this point. And then if I can move towards this, we would like to go back to a 6-day per week operation. And then for the summer, I have like a mocked up schedule for what we would be able to offer. That I know it's just tentative at this point. So it's a lot more full than what we're currently running with. But this is what I can do when I have someone dedicated to actually supervising all the programming and offers that go on there. Reading through the briefing note, all of the details around the budgets are there. There's a previous position that was under economic development that we're not restaffing. And the senior lifeguard position, we then wouldn't staff either. So between that, we still end up coming out with a surplus in the budget. So it doesn't actually cost us more money to make this change. And then we also have access to about $50,000 in funding from ITI. So there isn't a net loss with a change like this. It's just allowing me to actually have proper supervision of all the facilities that are under my umbrella. So I'm, after years of looking back and forth at this, like, I need someone who actually supervises this facility. Every example that was given, so Inuvik, Hay River, and Yellowknife, and if we're exemplifying how their pools are running, they have more full-time staff that run their pool off the very get-go, but they all have an aquatic coordinator. Whether that's the name, they all have an aquatic coordinator in each one of those communities. They all have a recreation coordinator in all of those communities. And they also have a director of community services. So we're stretching people as far as we kind of can, but if we want our facility to run better, this is the kind of commitment that we'd have to make to it.
Thank you for that. I need a motion, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the council approve the addition of a program coordinator aquatics position to replace the senior lifeguard within the Community Services Department and oversee the operation of the William Schaefer Memorial Pool.
Seconder?
I'll second that.
Discussion? Mayor Daniels.
Yeah, if we're putting in a person into that pool to look after it, can we not give them training dollars to train more on it, like a water pipe leak or something that he could fix it or he could analyze right away? Like, eh? Who? Yeah, he or she. He or she.
Gender neutral. Ms. Calucci?
Yeah, so that would be built in that this position would also take the pool operators courses in the same way that so I've taken the pool operators 1 and 2. That would be the expectation of this position as well. So then there'd also be someone in the facility at all times. Right now we check in the basement, in the mechanical room, the water gets tested twice a day. We usually do more water tests in the pool because we follow the legislation in that respect. But no, outside of that, no one's checking on the pool who can then take the chemicals and alter the pool if there's something that needs to be changed. Having someone in that position that has that training means that because we don't have a facility maintainer who stays in the building all the time, we then have someone who can make those adjustments who's there. So ideally, that would mean that we could address issues before they get worse.
Councillor Kufred had a question.
Thank you. Thank you for the background information and actually looking at saving us a bit of money to boot is an added bonus. I was speaking a bit earlier about doing changes and things and the need for a municipal core services review. And I still think this would be part of that. And I was just wondering whether the plan would be for possibly looking at staffing this in a term position too, until such a time that a review is done. Just, we don't know what the results are going to come back at, and it would be, I know it was back when we were talking about doing this review back last March. We were sort of hinting that a lot of the positions that became vacant over the term while the review was being undertaken should be just filled with a term just until such time as we knew what the results of the report was going to be. So it's just throwing it out there as a suggestion whether there's consideration just filling it as a term for now. With you can put in there, I suppose, as well as if the review comes back positive, that would be a full-time position.
Mayor Daniels.
Yeah, just before we walk away on this one, I know we're going into elections October. I'm not sure how much I'm going to be here, including myself. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to take that training, and every year he goes for training until he has his 5 stars. So the next council mayor can't change that. He'll go through his training until he's the general of that department.
Thank you, Mayor Daniels. And it may not be a he, it could be a she or somebody else. Councillor Pissinger.
Yes, thank you. You had mentioned some funding, 50,000 from ITI. Is this a one-time funding, or is that going to continue to cover the cost of this? And also, like you said, as Councillor Couvert mentioned with prior discussions, I know we had talked about, as he changed the name now to a Municipal Core Services Review. We've talked about it since last March. Nothing was done about it. And I think it's something that needs to be done, and maybe a term position like he had suggested is a way to start. Thank you.
Ms. Calucci?
So for the financials, it's been a pot of funding that we've been able to access for the last 3 years now. So ITI doesn't have any plans on canceling it, but it's not. Things can right, like it's year to year, but as far as what I know from ITI and what they've communicated to me is they don't have any intention of canceling this funding. It's all kind of promoting tourism. So it seems to be where they're investing more in communities. But even with that, so the surplus actually before the funding is around $66,000. After the funding, it's $116,000. So it does help our budget a fair amount.
Thank you for that. Any other comments? Questions? Go ahead.
And yeah, I can understand looking at the functional review. So I think that would be kind of the will of mayor and council if it was that you'd approve a term versus going to the full things. I think it's kind of up to you.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. All in favor? 1, 2, 3. Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. You're very welcome. Next briefing note, Celebration of Life concert donation request.
I move that council approve Ms. Benwell's request for the use of the town stage and waiving the rental fees to facilitate the success of this meaningful event.
I'll second that.
Any questions or comments? Mayor Daniels?
Yeah, do we have people on staff that could put this together, first of all?
Ms. Calucci?
Yeah, so I've been part of helping organize it just because whether or not this went through, we wanted to make sure we had everything in place. So everything's scheduled. We have staff ready. It's just the setup that's going to take place now and whether or not it's at no fee or if it's charged. So everything's ready to go and our staff are ready for it.
Great. So any other questions or comments? All in favor? Motion carried unanimously. If with council's and mayor's approval, can we go back to our delegation? I see that our delegate is in the house. Is that all right with everybody? Yeah, because we're at that point in our meeting as well. So Mr. Beamish, do you want to just maybe sit there so you have a microphone? And so thank you for coming. And this is regarding the skate park and pump track. Yes, there's briefing notes in there. So Jeremy, if you just hit the button when you're talking, please.
I guess we could start off by, do you guys have any questions regarding the letter?
Councillor Couvret.
Thank you. Not really a question, just I really appreciate you bringing this forward as a volunteer initiative and looking at what is being proposed. I think kudos. I will be supporting in the near future recommendations from council to move this forward.
Any other comments or questions from the gallery? Did you want to speak to it anymore, Jeremy?
I guess there's nothing to speak to regarding the skate park other than once it's a go-ahead, we'll get it organized to get it fixed. It's pretty straightforward. You know, there's not much work at all to get it fixed up, but it'll be 100% donated time and volunteers, so which is good. And then regarding the pump track, on that note, I did put in there that we're going to need a spot approved by the town council to where to put it and so far what to take it to the next step so we could start planning.
Okay. Thank you very much for taking the initiative and keeping this going. Next up is other business where we're going to be voting on these two items. So should they go forward from here, then they go to council for final recommendation next Tuesday. So just so you have a timeline on that. But we'll carry on to, I need a motion for the briefing note on the pump track.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that council accept a proposal from Jeremy Beamish to work with the, oh, sorry, reading the wrong one. Oh, no, that's the right one. To work with NWT Construction to develop a pump track.
I'll second that.
Any questions, comments, or concerns? Councillor Couvret.
Yeah, just for, I guess, information, further information to people tuned in on this. I believe part of the briefing note suggested that this would be set up somewhere near the recreation center.
Correct. And Mayor Daniels?
Yeah, that was my question. Do you have a place that you visioned already for it to be at, or?
SAO?
As identified within the briefing note, it's in the same sort of location where the skate park is. It's over closer to the road to King Street. There's a whole area identified there. There's a few elements that when we went on site that'll have to be sort of worked around. Is there a drain there? Was there a drain? There's a ditch and a fire hydrant there that the element would have to take into consideration. We saw that as an ideal location, both because it is all together there, as well as we had discussed the putting in some security cameras so we could have some eyes on, both for safety aspects as well as security.
Any other questions? Okay. All in favor? Carried unanimously. And briefing note on the skate park repairs.
I move that council accept the proposal from Jeremy Beamish to complete repairs and refurbish the existing skate park. I'll second that.
Any comments or questions? Mayor Daniels?
Yes, I know this is the last year probably for the paving. We should probably get this answered soon. Is there any paving that has to happen in that place that we could prepare for, put money aside or something?
I believe that is part of the proposal on there. And I believe part of the, not for the skate park, but for the pump track. That was the part, and that is being a donation. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Mayor Daniels?
Could we just not include the other one too and just have one run at it and it's done for good?
So I don't think we could have, I think this is probably the last run at that skate park. It's, I think the town council needs to start looking for funding to replace that skate park. This is a fix to get it up and going. You know, it's going to last for another 3 years. I'm going to use that. But I think the town needs to start looking at replacing the skate park. Not only that, and the asphalt under the skate park. There was a proposal put forward many years ago regarding concrete, do a new concrete pad, but I don't know, the price of concrete is pretty expensive. So, but getting a new skate park in place would be the ideal thing.
Thank you for that. I believe it is on the 20-year plan, 20-year capital plan. So it's on the list. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay. All in favor? Go ahead.
Well, as we're still on the topic, right? If we pass it, I can't speak on it. Right? Okay. There we go. So I got a question. I guess in the letter I did state that, myself and all the volunteers are not liable for this skate park. You know, if someone goes there and breaks their arm, breaks their leg, we aren't liable for it. Just want to put that out there. If we have to get something in, it is in writing. If we have to get it signed, we should sign that. Thanks.
SAO, you can ensure that occurs, please. Awesome. Okay. All in favor? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you so much. One more addition from Councillor Couvret about pool hours. No, sorry, it was Councillor Tucky. My apologies.
Okay, first of all, I'm very happy that the pool's open 5 days a week. But I've had some people approach me who have families and saying that the family swim isn't suitable for a lot of them because both are working and would like to have access to family swims and whatnot. I'm just wondering if the pool could be open during the weekends and be closed 2 days during the week. I'm just wondering if that's possible.
Ms. Colucci?
So the plan that I'm currently working on with the schedule has us open both Saturday and Sunday and only closed on Monday. And then running that kind of as a trial so that we can hopefully find where we can carry that throughout the year once all the staffing is completed. So yes, that's the ideal because we want, it's trying, I know that we're trying to get back to things that we had previously. So even like having a couple rental spots available again, I know that's a really big draw and not like sometimes for families, sometimes for birthday parties, sometimes for other organizations that want to do it as a staff appreciation event. Like it's another thing that is nice for us to offer. So we're trying to move back to having rental spots available. We're going to try and run 4 to 5 different levels of swimming lessons starting within the next couple weeks. So yeah, as I move this forward with that initiative, it'll hopefully be able to run us back a lot closer to where we were with our pool schedule so that we're trying to meet the needs of everybody. We're trying, it's tough, right? Some people want to swim in the morning. Some people want to swim in the evening. Some people want to have the weekend time. Some people don't want to have the weekend time because then it's too busy, right? So we're trying to hit all of those needs. And what I'd like to also have too is as we start running with this new schedule, put out similar to like what we've done with the library to put out a survey so that we can get some user information back that we can actually get enough data in that we can take some points away from it. Because I know we do definitely hear things anecdotally, but I'd like to start organizing that data a little bit more so that we do know what our community is looking for. So ideally, that's what we're working towards. So it's a start. It doesn't have all the answers yet, but yes, we want the weekend time open. That's what we'll be starting with our summer schedule. And for now, it'll be Saturday until I can just make sure I have enough staff, and then we'll be opening Sunday too. So little by little, it's getting better.
Thank you for that. It's slow and steady wins the race, right? So, awesome. Any other questions? Excusing of councillors?
I move that we excuse Councillor Ferguson and Councillor Campbell from this evening's meeting.
I'll second it.
Any questions or comments? All in favor? Carried unanimously. So the next Community Services Standing Committee meeting will be held on June 11th, 2024. And I just want to make 2 announcements. Condolences to the Campbell family on the loss of their son and brother. And also a reminder to the community that we are under a self-slave fire ban, and that means there's no open fires allowed unless for traditional use. There is a community fire ban, and that includes the use of fireworks. And so please do not set off anything. We do not want to be in the news like our neighbors, Fort Liard, Fort Simpson, and our thoughts go out to those in Fort Nelson and Fort McMurray who are being evacuated. So please try and use your common sense and be safe out there. Adjournment.
I move that we adjourn the meeting at 7:36.
I'll second.
All in favor? Carried unanimously. We'll take a 5-minute break. Thank you.